he allowed everybody to talk and talk and talk themselves out. I saw very interesting discussion, because when he knew that we had all talked ourselves off, then he actually came with his proposal.
I believe that one day Kenya will be governed by a democratic government, representative and elected by the people. And by the people, I include anybody who decides to make Kenya his home.
In how many years?
Who accepts to be treated as an equal citizen with everybody else.
After 4 weeks of argument, MacLeod decided it was time to call a halt.
He allowed everybody to talk and talk and talk themselves out. I saw very interesting discussion, because when he knew that we had all talked ourselves off, then he actually came with his proposal.
MacLeod announced, to general surprise, an immediate African majority in the Kenyan parliament. But before independence could be granted, 2 dangers remained. Kenyatta, the British believed, could bring chaos to Kenya. But popular African support for him was so strong that most African politicians now felt obliged to demand his release.
Will you press for the release of Jomo Kenyatta?
Certainly, yes.
How?
Again, by intensifying our efforts and more pressure on the British government and also the Kenya government, and using whatever influences we have gained from this present constitution for further efforts to secure his release.
The other danger was the die-hard whites. They had always relied on support within the Tory party. They felt betrayed by the Prime Minister. Macmillan feared their hostility would topple him.
We were naturally very upset. I mean, when you lived in a country like Kenya, you fought for it, and your roots were deep in the soil of Kenya, because it was our heritage. We'd been promised it was our land in perpetuity. If it was handed over to the blacks, one would have to leave, and your children would lose their heritage.
Europeans, unable to accept the idea of black government, were already packing up to leave. To diffuse white anxiety, the new governor risked a black explosion.
I repeat and confirm that in my view, Jomo Kenyatta's release would be at present a danger to security. The decision is mine. By this statement, I wish to make it clear that accordingly he will remain under restriction.
They wanted people, all the propaganda which they sent round, wanted the people to believe that Kenyatta is an evil leader who had put the country into trouble, and he should never be allowed to come back to life again.
The governor's broadcast increased African pressure for Kenyatta's release. When the Kenya African National Union, KANU, won the election, its leaders refused office until Kenyatta was freed. The deadlock now threatened the peaceful transfer of power that Britain wanted. So, in August 1961, Governor Renison bowed to the inevitable. Jomo Kenyatta, the man he had called the leader to darkness and death, returned home to a tumultuous welcome. After his release, Kenyatta accepted the presidency of KANU, a party whose radical platform had included the seizure of European-owned land. The whites were horrified. KANU was a near certainty to take over when Britain left.
KANU did give the impression of being excessively extreme. Land confiscation, nationalization of all industry, closing down of foreign investment, excessive Africanization. So naturally British interests were disturbed because they thought they would have an extreme, perhaps almost communist regime.
Kenyatta surprised everyone, white and black. To secure independence, he knew that Kenya needed stability, not a new upheaval. He overruled the radicals.